Hey guys, my name is Brittany and I am one of the workers here at the Speech and Language Center here at YVCC. I just wanted to take some time today and talk about signal phrases with you and specifically how to use those in your speeches. So I just pulled up this little explanation of signal phrases. I just Googled signal phrases in speeches, and this is from grammar.about.com, and I really liked this quote that just explains how they function. And it says that a signal phrase usually names the author of the source and often provides some context for that source material. And basic idea, as it's underscored down here, is that a signal phrase indicates the boundary between your words and the source's words. So before I kind of get into how to actually do that in your speech, I just wanted to explain that it's the reason it's important to use signal phrases to begin with is that you want to give credit where credit's due. It's just a good practice to have both in school and also in any places that you end up working or giving presentations. You don't want to take credit for something that's not yours. And the really neat thing about signal phrases and just citing good sources in general is that it actually adds to your credibility when you cite really credible sources. You don't just want to acknowledge sources that don't have very much substance to them or very much facts behind them. You really want to reference sources that bring a lot of weight to the argument you're trying to make, or even just to something you're trying to inform your audience about. It just causes your information to be more believable. So using a signal phrase is just a really important practice, so that way you can include that citation in a way that's really natural and really effective in your speech. So the main way I wanted to talk to you guys about that is by giving you some examples of when I was in public speaking and how I implemented different kinds of signal phrases. So what I did here is I have a couple of different speeches that I did, and I'm going to walk through and show you how you can do that naturally. So here, this is a speech I did on nutrition for my informative speech. My goal was to teach the audience about using food in a way that helps heal our bodies, in a way that helps build us up. And what I did in the beginning, as you can see here, is I used a signal phrase here. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines a whole food as. So that's something too that if you're using a definition, you may not think to cite it, but you didn't necessarily think of that definition yourself. So that's just another example of why you want to cite that. But the way I simply did that was just saying, this is where I got that information from. And the important thing to take note of here is that signal phrases can be very simple. You want it to sound very natural. You don't have to go through all this detail about your source and when they were founded and all this kind of stuff. You just want to keep it simple, so that way if someone in your audience wants to learn more about that, they know, oh, okay, I can go to the dictionary to find out more. Another example here is where I said, in addition, the WebMD adds. So I didn't necessarily go into detail about what WebMD is. I probably could have added that, the website WebMD says that, because people may not know, oh, that's a website. But that's just a simple way to add a signal phrase. That's the goal. You're just wanting to keep it clear enough and simple enough so that your audience has some idea of where you're getting the information from. I always tell people who come into the speech lab that one of the easiest ways to do that is by saying, according to blah, blah, blah. Because that way you're just kind of using that phrase to transition into the statistic or the fact you're trying to share. Now, this speech here was my persuasive speech. I was persuading the audience to consume less sugar. So with the persuasive speech, I had to use a lot more statistics to kind of gain that persuasive element, so to speak. So I wanted to also give an example of one you might need to try and add some more context for your signal phrase. So up here, I'm referencing a study. So if you're referencing a study and your goal is to use the results of that study to prove your point, you kind of do in that case want to add some context. But I still introduced where I'm getting this from. neurobiologist named Stephen Gaudinet studied this. So right from the beginning, my audience knows this is where I learned this from. This is where I got these facts from. So in those cases, with like big studies and stuff like that, you do want to give a little bit more context, but again, you want to keep it simple. You want it to sound natural. You want it to sound clear, so that way your audience knows that this is where you got that information from. And these are just some other examples that I'll go through. So right here, I took a class survey. So that was a really easy way to create a signal phrase. All I said was, when I surveyed you, that was my signal phrase. This is what I found out. This was the result. So my audience knows that I got this fact or this statistic from a survey. So again, that sounds really natural, nothing too fancy. And another simple way is, I said down here, I found from the American Heart Association that, and then I introduced the statistics. So very, very simple explanations. Again, down here, I showed a clip from a news report, and I said it's a clip from the ABC News. And this is what I was saying about using the phrase according to healthline.com. So again, super natural, super easy, doesn't have to be complicated. It's just simply mentioning where you got your information from. So that's pretty much the main stuff I wanted to share with you guys. Hopefully seeing some examples from my actual speeches made it a little easier to understand. And another thing too is, if you just need some language, what you can do is just Google like signal phrases in speeches, signal phrases in writings. There's whole resources that you can find, just a bunch of lists about different words to use. And another thing too is, if you're having trouble, feel free to stop by the Speech and Language Center. We are more than happy to help. All of us have been in your shoes, and we would love to be able to help you if you're having trouble citing your sources. Thanks. Have a good day.